Hello and welcome to this exciting and informative webinar brought to you by Allen Global, the leading study abroad preparation service provider. I'm Surbhi, your host for today, and I'm delighted to introduce you to our esteemed guests Sachin Srivastava sir, Apoor Bhatt sir, and Stuti Khandwala. Sachin sir and Apoor sir are the HODs of Allen Global, which has helped hundreds of students achieve their dream of studying abroad at the world's top universities such as MIT, Oxford, Imperial College London, and many more. We have produced some of the best results in the world in tests like SAT, IELTS, TOEFL, UCAT, BMAT, and advanced placements, along with helping our students get top internships in reputed organizations across the globe. Allen Global is present in various locations across India such as Kota, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Pune, Mohali, Surat, Ahmedabad, Indore, Bhubaneswar, and Jaipur. We are in 10 cities across the nation. Stuti is our famous alumnus who has made us all proud by getting admitted to MIT, one of the world's most prestigious and selective universities. She is about to complete her undergraduate degree in biological engineering at MIT and is here to share her first-hand journey and experience with us. She will also answer the burning questions and doubts about studying at MIT and give tips and advice on making your aspiration a reality. By the end of this session, you will have a clear idea of what it takes to get into MIT, what it is like to study there, and how the life after MIT is. We have much to cover today, so without further ado, let me hand over the webinar to Sachin and Apoor sir, who will take you through the agenda and start the conversation with Stuti. Please, sir.
Thank you, Surabhi ma'am. Yeah. Hi, Surabhi. Stuti, how are you doing? Welcome to the seminar. Okay, looking great. How is the weather there?
It's actually beautiful today, not too hot, not too cold.
Okay, great. So, Stuti, I suppose we should start from the beginning of your journey, right? You were here at Kota, you prepared for NEET, and then in fact you cracked IIT also, like n number of exams you cracked. So you have a lot of achievements in your bucket. So I would love, in fact, our audience would love to know from you, like how you started your journey and what actually you added in your profile, how you added all those things in your profile in the beginning of your journey. And when was that point when you realized that you should plan your study abroad?
I always wanted to do a lot of things. For me, my satisfaction level only comes when I know multiple aspects of a certain problem. And to know multiple aspects, you also need to have the knowledge of those subjects that tie into those aspects, right? In India, based on whatever I had heard from my seniors, I always thought that there's only two things you can do: be a doctor or be an engineer if you are in the STEM field. Outside STEM, we don't even consider pushing our bright students. So I wanted to do a lot. I was interested in medicine, I was interested in biology, but I was interested in the physics of biology, in the chemistry of biology, even in the math of biology. And my experience in the journey of international Olympiads helped me develop this craze for like pursuing pure science. Looking at everything, I was in my 10th grade, I was preparing for different exams with Allen, different exams for college entrances. And then somebody told me that there is an option where you can go study abroad. There are a few of my seniors who have taken transfers from IIT, who say went to MIT, went to other universities. And I was like, let me look at their curriculum. And I saw how flexible the curriculum here is. Like, I can do all these subjects, I can make my own like study path, and I have all the options in the world open to me after I'm finished with my undergrad, versus directly immersing into, say, a particular engineering degree or MBBS in India. So I studied for everything in India, and that really helped me get to where I am at today. But I also gave all these other entrance exams for colleges in the US during my 11th grade. So SAT, TOEFL, um, ACT, different AP exams that give me some credits here. And I was like, this is great. I mean, even now I'm getting to be exposed to all these subjects, and I will continue to be exposed to all of these subjects in the future during my undergraduate. That has truly been the case. And not only subjects academically, but also research, also like teach students abroad kind of opportunities, teach students at MIT kind of opportunities. So I almost got to explore my entire academic, like the entire portfolio of academic things. Also got to explore a lot of extracurriculars, which I have been very passionate about from the beginning, some of them which I developed during my 11th and 12th, some of them which I developed during my undergraduate journey. So say dancing, say learning a little bit of music, learning a little bit of acting. I got to do all of that during MIT. And I'm grateful that I got on to these extracurriculars during my 11th and 12th, which also helped me balance my life during the study years of my life, but also helped me make a better person out of me, a more wholesome person.
Yeah, Stuti, see, being Stuti, getting into world's top university seems easier, right? And when you look at from the point of view of a common student, it seems it's a far-fetched dream, all right? It seems that it's not everyone's cup of tea. What do you think? Really, everyone needs to be Stuti to get into world's top universities? Because see, what we have understood about you, that you have never been a typical science student, right? You have done a lot of things beyond science itself, right? You were there in arts, you were there in like humanities, everything, I should say. So getting into world's top university, really one needs to be Stuti only, that something very extraordinary, or even a common student can think of getting into some of the best universities of the world from India?
I became Stuti. I wasn't Stuti from the beginning. And I think the thing that makes me uncommon, I mean, sure, I might have like some amount of intelligence, some amount of like support from my family, some amount of support from my family abroad, lots of teacher support at Allen and otherwise. But what really like makes me uncommon, and I really want people to understand this, is that I aspire for more. Like I always want more. And this is not a difficult thing to have. So you should always want more. The second thing is MIT, yes, QS World Rankings is the top university. There are a lot of other universities. Yes, in India, also in the US, where you can apply to. And more or less, like, let's say funding wise, maybe some universities have a little more than the others, but curriculum wise, I think a lot of them give you world-class education, and you should definitely consider applying to number of universities. It's not just MIT. There are so many students who come to MIT to study. There are so many students from MIT who go to other universities to study. So all in all, I think this is what you should try to aim for if you want to study abroad. So let's say if we talk about a stereotypical common student and how they should even consider coming to the abroad, I think, like I said, the education here made me a very wholesome person. But to start with, I tried to make myself more wholesome when I was applying. So again, that is not something that you cannot do. Like, I bet you have certain passions, like say sports, say arts. Like if you don't have, you can try to build some. Even inside the school, you don't have to just study, but you can also come up with clubs that support your passion. Basically, you have to try to truly show who you are. And to do that, you have to truly do what you're passionate about. Only then you can write about that in your essays. Only then you can basically convince the other person that you're truly passionate about something. If you don't know your passions, I said try to find it. Talk to your elders, talk to teachers, talk to parents. They know you a lot better than you do yourself sometimes, and they can help you discover what all things you can do. There are like some basic requirements, right? There are these exams that you have to give, some scores that you have to show. Like, go ahead, prepare for it, do it. That's how I did it. And then the whole other aspect of, are you trying to, say, teach outside? Are you trying to volunteer at some place outside, say, like I did in an artificial forest or at a hospital? There are just so many things that you can do and showcase about yourself in an application. There are also certain applications which have special portfolios for some amount of research that you've done, mostly through contacts in India. If you have contacts in some universities, you can go up to the professor and say, I'm interested in so and so, or I want to explore in so and so area, and they'll be happy to take you on for a summer or so. Yeah, like basically try to list out a few things that you want to try, or you know you're doing but you want to do more of. Give them time, and then also consider the timeline of the actual application process. Like, many students apart from me, internationals, Indians who have come to MIT, who have come to other universities I know here, not only in STEM degrees, also in business, also in other like humanities degrees such as like theater, music, linguistics, lots of linguistic students from India. And so consider doing all of that. I do want to say that MIT, just like a lot of other universities here, gives a lot of importance to international events. So there are these international science Olympiads. There's also international science fairs. And there's always national versions of these, state versions of these, which you can climb up the ladder. So if you're in the STEM field, you should definitely go ahead, try for this. There's also linguistics Olympiad. I think there are a few other kinds of Olympiads as well. So explore your passion, explore your path, see where you can go with whatever you have at hand.
Okay. Welcome, Stuti, once again to this webinar. Let's move ahead, delve deeper into getting into MIT. Just for the benefit of the students and the students who have joined our webinar right now. The pointer that we are getting right now is some of the students want us to communicate in Hindi as well. So I'll possibly try and do that in Hindi English mix so that सभी लोग समझ पाएं इस चीज़ को. अभी हम थोड़ा MIT में एंट्री की बात कर रहे हैं, है ना. हम थोड़ा कोशिश करते हैं डिस्कशन को 3 पार्ट्स पे ले जाने की. MIT में एंट्री के लिए व्हाट इट टेक्स टू गेट इनटू MIT, लाइफ एट MIT एंड लाइफ आफ्टर MIT, ऐसा कुछ करने की कोशिश करते हैं फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स. अभी देखते हैं तुम्हारा स्पेसिफिक केस है. द पॉइंट दैट यू जस्ट शेयर्ड विद अस वाज फॉर स्टूडेंट्स व्हाट दे कैन पॉसिबली परस्यू टू फाइंड आउट देयर पैशन एंड अप्लाई टू टॉप यूनिवर्सिटीज लाइक MIT, not only MIT. Now let's delve deeper into your case. Just throw some light on what did you specifically had in your profile, how could you stand out from other students, why do you feel that you got into MIT, what was that unique pointer that you had in your profile, any part of application process that you want to highlight. Just a glimpse of that part if you want to share with students.
For sure. पहली बात, मेरे सामने अभी मेरा एप्लीकेशन खुला हुआ है. आई थिंक अगर मैं एडमिशंस ऑफिसर होती तो पहली बात जो मैं नोटिस करती वो ये होती कि मैंने अपने आप को बहुत अच्छे से डिस्क्राइब करने की कोशिश की है. हर इंसान बहुत यूनिक होता है, मैं भी हूँ, इंक्लूडिंग मेरा बैकग्राउंड या मेरे फैमिली में लोगों ने मुझे कैसे सपोर्ट किया है थ्रू देयर ओन प्रोफेशंस. मेरे सिटी की क्या हाईलाइट्स है जो मुझ में भी झलकती है. आई एम फ्रॉम सूरत and I talked about how I am a proper Surti and I love life and I live for food. मेरी like कुछ personal hobbies जैसे souvenirs collect करना. There was an essay about that. I described that in great detail. And then I think एक बड़ा पार्ट था मेरा एक्सपीरियंस विथ भरतनाट्यम, इंडियन क्लासिकल डांस, एंड हाउ like I showed my commitment through like going through all the stages possible within Bharatnatyam, all the training. उसके लिए मैंने एक सेपरेट पोर्टफोलियो भी सबमिट किया था जिसमें मैंने अपने डांस के कुछ कुछ एक्सर्प्ट्स डाले थे एज वीडियोस. आई थिंक एप्लीकेशन में एक पार्ट ऐसा होता है जहाँ पे वो लोग पूछते हैं कि तुम्हें कौन से मेजर में जाना है. कुछ कुछ कॉलेजेस में प्री डिफाइंड होता है कि तुम्हें इसी मेजर में एंट्री मिलती है. एमआईटी में ऐसा नहीं है, सिर्फ तुम्हारे इंटरेस्ट के बारे में पूछते हैं. तो समवेयर और दी अदर तुम्हारी एप्लीकेशन में ये दिखना चाहिए कि लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने बायोलॉजिकल इंजीनियरिंग लिखा था, तो ये दिखना चाहिए कि मैं एक्चुअली बायो में इंटरेस्टेड हूँ, मैं एक्चुअली उसको इंजीनियरिंग साइड लेके जाना चाहती हूँ. एमआईटी में ये प्रोफेसर्स थे जिनमें मुझे इंटरेस्ट था और इनके साथ मैं काम करना चाहती हूँ. किस तरह काम करना चाहती हूँ, क्या नया करना चाहती हूँ. मेरे आसपास जो फॉर एग्जांपल न्यूरोसाइकोलॉजिकल डिसऑर्डर्स है उनको मैं कैसे ट्रीट करना चाहती हूँ. जस्ट अ विजन, like you don't have to be scientific about it. Similarly, for like non-STEM majors, anything that you see relevant around you, जिससे तुम्हें influence मिला हो, you should totally go ahead describe it. I think so. Building on my point कि मैं बहुत अच्छे से description दे सकी अपना. I also talked about my biggest challenge that I faced, and that challenge doesn't have to be something like, oh, there's been a death in the family that has seriously affected me. It can also be something like very जो तुम्हें बहुत छोटा लगता है पर किसी के लिए छोटा नहीं होता. तो I talked about how मैं इनिशियल ओलंपियाड की स्टेजेस में बहुत डिस्ट्रैक्टेड थी और मुझसे फोकस नहीं होता था. मैं घर से बाहर पहली बार रहती थी, एंड फ्रॉम दैट हाउ आई overcame my fears, how I actually focused on what was important and neglected all the rest. So this is like the essays part of me, which tells you a lot about me and how possibly I will fit into MIT. There's also like core statistics. So I'm not trying to boast here. I just want to put this across. For SAT, I had a 1560 score, mostly prepared using the official SAT books and also with the help of AGSD. I gave a bunch of AP exams जिसके लिए मुझे credit मिला था. Calculus BC, Physics C, Mechanics, Physics C, Electromagnetics and Biology, जिसकी credit नहीं देती है MIT, पर दूसरी colleges देती है. मैंने Economics नहीं किया था क्योंकि हमारे 11-12 के curriculum में कभी Economics आया भी नहीं था. But now I'm an Economics minor. So अगर मुझे ये पहले से मेरा इंटरेस्ट पता होता तो मैं AP माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स दे के उसके भी क्रेडिट्स ले सकती थी. I also gave ACT, which was optional. SAT या ACT था, जिसमें मेरा overall 35 score था, STEM में 36 score था. And then I gave SAT subject tests, which basically show my interest in specific subjects. So I gave math, I gave physics, also chemistry, जिनमें मेरे 800 basically full score tha. And TOEFL mein I had 113, which is not a full score, 113 on 120, but that is sufficient to show my fluency. This is statistics. Now, scholastic distinctions. Of course, आप सबने लंबी list सुनी होगी पहले भी, but the things that I considered important, I wrote in the 5 spaces that I got. So 8th में मुझे नेशनल चाइल्ड अवार्ड मिला था. 8th जबकि लगता है कि बहुत पुराना है, पर तुम्हारे पुराने अचीवमेंट्स भी उतने ही मैटर करते हैं. अगर तुम्हें मैटर करते हैं वो, तो यू शुड पुट इट इन द एप्लीकेशन. So I got the National Child Award. So I had like a national level award, and then I went on to the international awards. Biology Olympiad में, या Indo-Russian Summit में जब Olympiad medalists को बुलाया था. And then there's also these exams which we can relate more to. So if you're applying as a transfer student and you've given NEET, you've given JEE, like uske scores, like these universities do understand, so put them on. Uske rank, uske scores. I wrote, क्योंकि मैंने 12 में apply किया था, about NTSE, National Talent Search Examination, which is very widely available. कि मैं उसकी स्कॉलर हूँ, एंड ऑल्सो किशोर वैज्ञानिक प्रोत्साहन योजना की स्कॉलर हूँ. Apart from, okay, coming to non-scholastic, so like you're seeing, right, I've done a lot. Like ऐसा लगता है कि 11th-12th का स्टूडेंट इतना कैसे कर सकता है, कर सकते हो. दिस इज जस्ट पढ़ाई के बाद के टाइम में की हुई चीजें. Helps you balance your day out better. For non-scholastic things, I wrote a lot about what I've done in school. So I brought up a biology club in the school. I used to take lectures. I organized some field trips. I also laid down a blog which helps, say, future leaders of the club to actually function the club better. I was involved in Model United Nations. School में तो मैंने उसके बारे में लिखा. मैंने वहां तक लिखा कि हम लोग एक रिवर राफ्टिंग एक्सकर्जन पे गए थे और वहां पे मैं बेस्ट टीम लीडर थी. आई रोट अबाउट दैट एज वेल. किसी डांस कंपटीशन में कुछ आया हो, आई रोट अबाउट दैट. आई थिंक like just laying yourself out there is really important, because I also wrote about how I organized my grandma's 75th birthday party. Just like, ऐसा कौन लिखता है कॉलेज की एप्लीकेशन में? Maybe it helped. So there is that. On the dance side of things, I also conducted a few charity workshops, and so I mentioned that in my application. Now, application में इतना लिखने के बाद मुझे जगह कम पड़ गई. So what I decided to do, and some of you might have seen, I have a website. I also have a YouTube channel where I upload a lot of content on a daily basis. So मैंने जब एप्लीकेशन सबमिट किया, उसके बाद मैंने अपने ये वेबसाइट पे, ब्लॉग पे, यूट्यूब चैनल पे सब्सक्राइबर्स, व्यूज exponentially increase होते हुए दिखे. Where were they coming from? I saw the demographics, USA. So these people actually look at your things, like they're actually interested in you. So आपने अगर बहुत कुछ किया है, दिखा नहीं सकते, find avenues where you can show it to them. Like, just do it. Some of my friends who were interested in robotics, they did a lot of robotics projects, and they put out like blog posts about how many projects they'd done. And all of that really, really helps you in your application to show them what you are. That's it. Yeah, this was my application. Like I said, I did do a lot of things. Some of them janbujke, some of them I just had them and I had to show them. Some of them I just talked to my family about it and they gave me ideas for what I can write about myself in the essay. So yeah. Hopefully this seems like a more approachable process now.
Okay. I'll just add on to your statements right here. For the benefit of students, once again, that कितना difficult होता है नीट या जेई के लिए प्रिपेयर करना या इंडिया बैकअप प्लान के लिए प्रिपेयर करना वर्सेस बाहर के एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस के लिए तैयारी करना in parallel. You have done that, you have gone through the process, you know it pretty well. But what do you suggest to other students? Is it possible? And if yes, should they go for it?
I think second question first. आपको लाइफ में क्या करना है इसका बहुत क्लियर आंसर आपके पास हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी हो सकता है. अगर नहीं है तो फॉर एक्सप्लोरेशन आई थिंक देयर इज नॉट अ बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटी देन एन अंडरग्रेड अब्रॉड, क्योंकि इतना फ्लेक्सिबल है. अगर आपके पास आंसर है और आपको डॉक्टर बनना है, नॉट नेसेसरी कि आपको इंडिया से ही डॉक्टर बनना है. यू कैन स्टिल डू एन अंडरग्रेड हियर, उसके बाद अप्लाई कर सकते हो. लॉट्स ऑफ ऑप्शंस. इंजीनियरिंग करना है, यहाँ से करो, इंडिया से करो. लाइक फर्स्ट डिसाइड कि आपके लिए क्या मैटर करता है. घर के पास रहना, दूर रहना, ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स. शुड यू डू दैट? यस. लाइक शुड यू try for backup options? Yes. Speaking from personal experience, like there could have been nothing better. But if it's too much work, do not. Just like अगर आप स्ट्रेस आउट होगे तो आप ना ये एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस में अच्छा करोगे, ना इंडिया की एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स में अच्छा करोगे. सो देयर इज नो पॉइंट ऑफ स्ट्रेसिंग आउट. प्रिपेयरिंग इन पैरेलल. सो ऐसा लगता है कि मैंने लाइक आधे दिन एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस की होगी, आधे दिन नीट के लिए पढ़ी होगी, आधे दिन एम्स के लिए पढ़ी होंगी, जब थे दोनों अलग अलग. ऐसा नहीं था. ड्यूरिंग माई 11th एंड 12th, बेसिकली 12th के मिड में मुझे अपनी एप्लीकेशन सबमिट करनी थी MIT के लिए. 12th के स्टार्टिंग में मैंने SAT दी थी और 12th मिड के बाद मैंने पूरा फोकस अपनी इंडियन एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स पे किया था. नॉट ड्यूरिंग द एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस. ना एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस में ऐसा नहीं है कि आप एक दिन बैठ के पूरा एप्लीकेशन लिख रहे हो, एक महीना बैठ के पूरा एप्लीकेशन लिख रहे हो. इट्स अ कांस्टेंट प्रोसेस, सो इट हैपेंस ओवर अ फ्यू मंथ्स. So that doesn't mean कि तुम्हारी studies छूट रही है side में. It has to be done बाजू के time में. Like, I also understand that there are students who just want to apply to schools abroad and who do not want to do the traditional engineering and doctor paths. I would suggest that आप जिसमें भी inclined हो, always have a backup option, because this world is very, very competitive. I don't need to tell you that. So अगर आपसे हो सकता है तो try to parallelize. स्कूल पे बहुत फोकस करो. स्कूल में जो एकेडमिक्स जो नॉन एकेडमिक्स होते हैं they're very, very important. Like, उसको निग्लेक्ट करके सिर्फ हर जगह के स्ट्रेसर्स से अपने आप को घेरने में कोई पॉइंट नहीं है. Yeah, lots of advice there. Speaking from my own journey, really sit down with yourself, with your family, like figure out what are your priorities, and timeline set हो जाएगी. आपको दोनों करना है, एक ही करना है, कौन सा करना है, all up to you, and everything is possible.
Very particular question, as you mentioned about school, right? So school has its own role to play, right? So you did your own work and your own rigor you have gone through. Now, talking about school, they send letter of recommendation, all right? So what do you think, how much important this letter of recommendation is? And there I believe that you don't have any control over, right? Because ultimately, so does it play any role in final selection process?
I should have mentioned this before. Thank you for bringing up. I think letters of recommendation आपके किसी भी application के लिए, not only undergrad, also grad, like in the process I'm in, they are the most important things. Because पूरे application में आप बता रहे हो, पर आपके बारे में अगर कोई और endorse करता है आपको, तो that there is nothing more that people want to see. Like, that's why I think letters of recommendation are very important. And since you don't have any control over them, it is important that you just give your best. School के teachers लिखते हैं letters of recommendation, and make sure कि you're always in touch with these teachers जिनके subject से आपको बहुत प्यार है. Like, in touch in the sense that you're asking all the queries you have. अगर आप कोई club develop कर रहे हैं, for example, तो उनके guidance के अंदर करिए. Like, keep a connection. Letters of recommendation जितने personal होते हैं उतना benefit होता है. Of course, I don't know मेरे letter of recommendation में क्या गया था, but I'm assuming if I got in that it was spectacular. My teachers had great things to say about me personally, like not just कि हाँ क्लास के टॉप में थी या इसने ये किया था, इसने वो किया था, उसने मेरे साथ ये डिस्कस किया था और मुझे स्पेसिफिकली ये एनेक्डोट याद है. These are the kinds of letters of recommendation that are very, very important. I think पूरा application एक तरफ and letters of recommendation एक तरफ. So make sure you're maintaining that connect. You know कि आपको potentially किन से recommendation letter चाहिए होगा. These letters should come from people who can endorse things that you write in your application, and also tell the committee a little more about you from the perspective of a teacher. So yeah, super important.
I remember one conversation last time, like when we had that. So like you applied for some job there in nuclear reactor, right? And then your professor, he somehow contacted us, and then you told me that he read your letter of recommendation and he mentioned certain lines that he was very much impressed with, right? So
yeah, exactly. So I think we'll come to this a little later, but there are a lot of jobs that you can do as an undergrad at MIT. And उस point of time पे भी तुम्हारे लिए कोई कुछ बोल रहा है, उसका बहुत importance है. So that person, the recruiter, reached out to these guys and asked them about a recommendation. These people remember things that are being said about you. Like admission committee में भी मैंने सुना है कि जब वो लोग लिखते हैं as a summary of your application, they write these quotes directly from recommenders. In other application processes, I know for a fact that this exists. So like a word from your teachers has a lot of importance.
Wonderful. Well, Stuti, one last question from this section. आप जिस बैच का पार्ट थे, है ना, ये MIT के अंदर जो आपका बैच था, उस बैच का मिक्स किस तरीके का था? कैन यू डिस्कस दैट थिंग विद अस? किस तरीके का प्रोफाइल ज़्यादातर स्टूडेंट्स का था, या व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मिक्स that MIT was looking for in that particular year? Do you have any idea about that? किस तरीके के बच्चे आपके साथ में उस समय स्टडी कर रहे थे?
So, in the international population, I know that a lot of them were international Olympiad participants. A lot of them were not, but like, let's say 60% of the international population was from that. From the Indians that came with me / got transferred, काफी लोगों को मैं जानती थी. Some of them were from, so one of them was from physics, I was from biology, one of them was from chemistry. So there was a good mix. I think overall in the pool, they still look for a good mix among all the majors. So there are like, I think 22 to 25 majors at MIT, including architecture, including mechanical engineering, including civil engineering. So they basically look for a good mix so that they can fill out all of their majors. And it's not like puri population sirf computer science kar rahi hai. Although I should say ki like most of the class is doing computer science in some form or the other. That's just how the US works. That is like majors wise distribution. Percentage wise, internationals I think make about 15 or 10, 6 to 10% of the class, depending on the year. So we are small but not insignificant. And I think funding wise, 70% of MIT receives some form of funding from them. So that's kind of the income brackets in which people fall. Yeah.
Okay, let's move ahead. Now you have been into MIT for the past 4 years. Let's discuss this journey कि भाई 3 सालों में 4 सालों में MIT में academics के point of view से, non-academics के point of view से, what things you have done. Let us throw some light on that part. In brief, all yours.
Cool. Okay. So academics wise, I did a double major in biological engineering and computer science. I did 2 minors in economics and chemistry. So 4 बड़े subject के नाम बोले मैंने. उन सबके obviously classes. Every semester was a good mix of all of these classes. There are some general institute requirements that you have to do, that everyone has to do at MIT, which also includes taking a swimming class. मुझे नहीं आता था, मैंने लिया. But there's calculus, there's physics, basic biology, basic chemistry. So all of that, as well as deeper classes into, say, economics में the challenge of world poverty, biology में like cell biology, or a seminar on COVID. Computer science may lots to do with algorithms, machine learning, programming, ke deeper and deeper classes, computational structures. Lot of like, half of your major is predefined, half of it you're flexible to take electives. And electives may, I tried to cross some of my interests. So some of my classes were biology plus computer science. That was my like coursework, what I did. I was very, very involved in research. So I had almost 4 different research experiences during these years, despite being off campus for a little bit during COVID. One of my research was in cancer. One was predicting risk of certain diseases using machine learning, so purely computational. One of them was actually on COVID, trying to develop the RNA structure of the virus. And then my very first research experience was actually on something that was much more bioengineering, EE side of things, which was making neural probes for the brain in mice. So multifunctional neural probes. So I did a lot of research. I took about 5 classes a year. So that takes away a lot of my time. Now for my research, I used to get paid part-time. So that was great. And I got a publication out of it, which was great again. It's going to help me in my life. It's not uncommon for people at MIT to get their own publications. Some first author, some like third or fourth author. It's all valid and great. Shows how much commitment you have. Apart from that, I was involved in this program called New Engineering Education Transformation, Uska Living Machines thread. This is one of the many programs at MIT which actually prepares you for your career. They have classes that help you network in career fairs that are organized by MIT. They also actually give you all the list of options that you have and connect you with alumni, give you like lessons which are very like core career skills in a particular major, things like that. So I was involved in that. So during my summers, I did a few internships, a couple of software development internships, one at Amazon, one at a startup. So got the experience of both a big company and a small company. I also helped develop a few clubs at MIT. This is going a little bit into the non-academic side. So I did this biomaker space. There was already a maker space at MIT, and I was involved in the formation of a biomaker space. I also interned for a winter at a healthcare entrepreneurship startup thing. And I found this club called MIT Nritya for Indian classical dance, which was alive 10 years ago at MIT, but not when I was here. So I was involved in bringing that group up. We did a few dance showcases, Bharatnatyam, Kathak, Kuchipudi, other dance styles. And we have a YouTube channel for that now. It's like up and flourishing. I also was a teaching assistant for a couple semesters, one for a basic biology class, one for a bioengineering class. And I did a lot of volunteering and shadowing on the side, hospital volunteering. I also created a little bit of YouTube content. I was a grader for a class. I was an associate advisor for first-year students. I was a part of Model United Nations, like basically lived my life, explored
Wonderful.
all that I could, actually found what I wanted to do.
Just adding on the point, you said that you have given AP for STEM courses, right? Calculus, physics, mechanics, E&M, etc., etc. Just throw some light on how important it is to give, say, for example, non-STEM based AP courses for students who want to pursue engineering course at MIT. You just said that you missed on the economics part, right? So how important it is for students to give, say, for example, US history as AP course, or microeconomics or macroeconomics, even if they are not sure right now what would they pursue at MIT or any other top university for that matter?
I did not give, obviously. So giving AP courses really depends on what credits you are getting for some mandatory courses in that university. Also depends on what you want to show in your application. So like, I gave AP biology even though I knew MIT does not give credit, because I wanted to show them that I'm up to par with whatever biology curriculum they have in the US. So kind of depends on what you want to show. It's not essential to give APs at all. It shows that you're better at certain things. That's why you should, if money allows, if time allows. STEM majors ke liye non-STEM APs, then again, not at all essential. If you're interested, if you're talking about history in your application and you want to give US history a try, sure, go ahead. Yeah, that's my take.
Okay, very short and quick question about your hostel life there at MIT. Would you like to share some experiences?
Yeah, so I was a very solo person, so I decided to live by myself without a roommate. I'm not sure if I should have lived with a roommate, but a lot of my life in the dorm that I was, every dorm has its own culture. In the dorm I was basically having these weekly study breaks, which are organized by the graduate residents in our suites, and everyone gets together for a meal to chit chat. There are a lot of times when people come over to your dorms to study. So we had big study spaces, big lounges where we used to sit and study, prepare for exams, most importantly, do problem sets together. That is one of the core values at MIT. It's collaboration. Food-wise, I was actually very fortunate that I was at MIT because I got all the food options that I needed in my life. One of the dorms actually even had Indian food every night. So that was great. I think overall, I made a lot of friends within my dorm, outside my dorms, through other cross dorm events as well. Yeah, I think it was pretty fantastic. Nothing to complain about.
Right, Stuti. So you were mentioning about your work over there, the internships that you have done, right, and the things that you were indulged in, right? So here I want to know, I want to get the insight for our students over here that what about your part-time work? Were you involved in any sort of job, and what was the payout over there? Yeah.
So most of my semesters, or I would say all of my semesters, I actually earned from research, like I mentioned before. And that is always part-time. It is on minimum wage. And it adds to some of the, so when they give you a funding scholarship, this is not a merit-based scholarship, it's a need-based scholarship at MIT, based on my parents' income. So they give me certain amount of money, and then there's some amount of student contribution that I have to do. So this part-time job money that I get from research goes into that student contribution that I have. So that is during semester years. During the summers, like I mentioned, I did internships. So the companies were paying me full-time. And then during my winters, sometimes I had research that paid me again. This is all through the MIT Europe opportunity, undergraduate research opportunities program. And I also did like other side jobs, such as when I came in, I started as a waste watcher, which is basically going to events, standing near the waste bins and telling people where to put what is compostable, what is recyclable. So I did one or two of those jobs. Teaching assistantships also pay. So if you don't want to do research and are TAing in a particular semester, they can pay you as well, depending on the department, depending on the class.
Right. So a very quick question over here. We want to know those. Pointers, main pointers that made you choose MIT on the first place, and the exposure, the global exposure you got through and like via MIT. So, pointers.
Yeah. So the decision I was making was between Caltech and MIT. These are the two places in the US I got into, and Ames. So I said to myself that even if I want to become a doctor one day, I don't want to become just a doctor. I want to like do something with my medical education that can combine with the other parts of my undergraduate journey, which would give me a background in computer science, a background in the actual physics, chemistry of the topics, and in the future be immersed in research, which I truly enjoy. So which is why I was like, Ames was out of question. Caltech, I didn't know a lot of people there. The community was very small. And so I chose MIT. MIT also has more funding opportunities for internationals than a lot of other universities do. So there was that. I think global exposure wise, there's the community aspect of it. I just have so many people around me pursuing different paths. And I keep getting inspired from them to like try new things, constantly push my boundaries, but also all the professors I meet, all the different research topics that I get to hear about, all the little conferences that MIT can send me to. There's just so much that MIT did. I think one very special experience in the global aspect was me teaching during COVID times to teaching high school students in Wales over Zoom. And that was like totally different time zones. And I was making entire curriculum for about 15 different classes that I was taking at that point in the winter. And so that's just one of the many things that you can do with an education like at MIT.
Great, great. Let's move ahead, Stuti, and just try and find out. There is a kind of perception among Indians in India about what should they be doing when they are graduating from IITs or AIMS for that matter, looking forward for a kind of good job in Google, kind of stuff. Let's talk about the perception among students there at MIT who are in 4th year, graduating year. What kind of roles do they pursue? What do they do? What do they aim to do?
So various things. I think there's one higher studies path, and there's one let's do industry for some time and then maybe consider higher studies, or let's keep being in the industry. When I say industry, there are jobs in the biotech or pharma industry. There's consulting that a lot of people from across different backgrounds do. Consulting jobs that actually pay you to come back and do an MBA, fund you for an MBA, other kinds of typical industry jobs that you know about. On the higher studies kind of path, there are people who apply to grad schools directly out of MIT. There are people who take a few years to sort of say be a research assistant at a lab, like explore a particular field, or if they want to go into medicine, they would maybe do a master's somewhere in medical sciences, or even do a job as a scribe at a hospital in order to build their profile. So there's some people take those years to build their profile and apply again to PhDs, to MBAs, other MS programs. Some people go on to do law after their undergrad. So that is definitely an option. Basically, the whole plethora of things is open to you. MIT introduces you to all of these things through career fairs, through certain department info sessions. A lot of PhD programs or scholar program administrators actually come to MIT to give talks. So people get exposed to all of these things. But yeah, there's all these things you can do. And through, you get into one path, but then you can always pivot to some other path if you think this one was not right for you. So people do that all the time. Look for jobs. If they don't get jobs, do a master's degree, especially important for internationals. That's been a trend these days. Yeah, almost everything that you can think of, some of my friend is doing it.
Yeah, Stuti, so talking about US education, it is lucrative because of probably two things. One is it is the most liberal education system, right? The other thing is it is the most holistic education system. So, talking about your journey, where we know that you are already a bundle of or bouquet of a lot of talents, right? So, how do you see that this MIT has shaped you in last 4 years? What kind of changes you observe in yourself?
If there are people here who watched my videos when I finished 12th and are watching me now, I think one is just the interpersonal aspect of things. I've interacted with so many different kinds of people now that I know how to interact. I know how to build connections. I already have networks / know people who can introduce me to newer networks. The way I would talk to you or the way I would ask you questions is now different and more sort of personable. I think writing wise, the way I used to write in India versus the way Americans understand English is very different. So of course that changed a lot because we have these specific classes which are writing intensive, which actually make you write publication worthy papers, articles, like long 6-7 page articles, and correct you on the way. So I've developed a lot on the writing aspect of things. Lot to do with my personality. Like I was shy. I did not want to talk to people until I saw what kind of benefit to my life that can have when I just go out and talk, go out and interact. So there's all of those personality / writing / confidence, communication aspects. There's also things about how I think. So MIT really pushes problem solving in all of their classes, in the entire curriculums. In fact, the capstone classes that we have at MIT also focus on choose a problem, like lay out all the problems within the problem. Now try to solve a particular branch of the problem. How are you going to interact in a group setting? So I think all of that helped me a lot in thinking about things, in understanding what is important, like what I should focus on. And then there's also this confidence that I have through my education, that I can basically do whatever I want and I will be capable of doing it. In the sense of career options, in the sense of even like basic subject, like if I'm interested in this question, like I will find the means to get there. So I think that really helps me. One big thing that people are often misinformed about is MIT में कितना स्ट्रेस होता होगा जब लोग इतना कुछ करते हैं, तो कितना स्ट्रेस होता होगा. Actually, this education also told me कि स्ट्रेस लेके बहुत चीजें करना जरूरी नहीं है. Like one, you can be perfect in a few things, and you're naturally good at those things, so you'll be fine. Two, you don't actually have to be very good at everything if you just want to try things out. Like you can do that as well. And like किसी चीज का कहीं से कोई प्रेशर लेने की जरूरत नहीं होती. ना MIT में किसी ने हमें दिया है, ना घर से कभी मिला है. तो it's been a very smooth process, and I think that's how I will make my life, even in terms of time management. Like MIT में बहुत कुछ होता है, but you also learn how to manage it, and now I can do it quite efficiently. Yeah.
Good, yes. Great. Okay, last pointer from our side before wrapping up the session is any suggestions for top university aspirants from India? क्या funding इतना बड़ा challenge होता है? Do they go for it if they have kind of plan their career, even if they have not? क्या उनको try करना चाहिए? MIT हो या उतनी अच्छी कोई और university हो, institute हो? Is funding that a big challenge?
Okay, not exactly, but that is very university dependent. So MIT ki tarah, there are a lot of other universities which give you need-based scholarships. There are also some universities which give you other merit-based scholarships. And there are scholarships that you can try for that are like go through, that you can apply for while you're in your 12th, while you're applying for your college applications, as well as some you can apply for after you come here. So there are multiple avenues of getting money. For the colleges that give you need-based admission like MIT does, अगर उनका कॉन्सेप्ट ये है कि अगर आपके पास पैसे हैं, आपके पास इन द सेंस आपके पेरेंट्स के पास या आपके घर के पास, अगर आपके पास पैसे हैं तो वो लोग आपको नहीं देंगे, बट यू शुड बी एबल टू फंड योर एजुकेशन. अगर आपके पास नहीं है तो वो लोग आपको कवर अप करवा देंगे टू द most extent. There are some students who take loans and then industry में jobs लेके pay them off. Like I understand a loan sounds scary, but it's not uncommon at all. So there's all of that. Funding is not a huge issue unless you are trying for a university which makes you pay completely out of pocket. There are a few of those universities, but that then depends on your background. So funding is not a huge issue if you choose the right universities.
All right, Stuti, thank you so very much. So this brings us to the end of this awesome webinar, and we are now wrapping up with this webinar. And I would like to give a big thanks to Sachin sir and Apur sir, and especially Stuti for taking out time for this webinar. And answering the questions, all the questions of our participants over here, and a big shout out to all our amazing participants as well for being with us throughout the session. We really hope that we satisfied all your queries and questions and answered them all. And if you're curious about where you stand right now, all the participants, then you can just fill out the profile evaluation form which is there in the description box below. You can just go through it and you will get a personalized report highlighting what you're great at and where you can amplify it up. So yes, that's that for you all, and we'll catch you up in the next one. Thank you so much, Stuti, once again.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you.
Right, everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you,
weekend
everyone.
ahead.
All the best. Stay in touch.